During a Vatican ritual, meant only to observe, not exorcise, a woman began to levitate off the stone floor. There were no chants calling it upward, no commands given, and no explanation recorded for why the ritual was never attempted again. The woman was 32 years old when she was brought to Vatican officials. She was not violent. She was not speaking in other voices. She showed no signs of possession in the traditional sense. What concerned the church was her body. Witnesses at her parish reported that during prayer, her feet would lift slightly from the ground, only inches at first, long enough for others to notice, long enough for doubt to form. Doctors were consulted. Tests were performed. Nothing explained what happened next. During Mass, as the congregation knelt, the woman rose nearly 2 feet into the air. She did not react. She remained calm, eyes closed, hands folded, as if unaware of what was happening. The church classified the case as anomalous and transferred her quietly to Vatican custody. Not for exorcism, but for observation. The ritual chamber was prepared with no relics, no restraints, and no commanding prayers. The goal was to provoke nothing. The woman was instructed only to pray silently. For the first 10 minutes, nothing happened, and the temperature changed. Observers noted pressure in their ears, like a sudden altitude shift. Candles bent sideways as if caught in a wind no one could feel. The woman's feet lifted from the floor, slowly, deliberately. She rose nearly 5 feet into the air and remained there, perfectly still. There was no struggle, no screams, no altered voice. When priests attempted to intervene with prayer, the woman opened her eyes and spoke for the first time. She said, "You are interrupting balance." The levitation intensified. Objects in the room began to shift. A table slid several inches without contact. One observer reported feeling pulled upward himself before collapsing. The ritual was ordered to stop. As soon as the prayers ended, the woman lowered gently to the floor. She asked if she could sit down. When questioned afterward, she claimed no memory of lifting. She said prayer made her feel lighter, as if gravity briefly forgot her. A second ritual was approved weeks later. It ended early. The woman levitated again, this time faster, reaching the ceiling before being forced down by sudden prayer. One priest later admitted something chilling. He said the ritual did not summon the phenomenon. It resisted interruption. The church classified the case as unresolved. No exorcism was performed. The woman was released into private care with strict conditions. Years later, she entered a convent voluntarily. There are no recorded incidents since. But Vatican notes include a final warning. Levitation occurred without invitation. Further rituals risk escalation. If stories like this leave you unsettled, you'll find links below to books, research material, and items people often explore after learning about unexplained Vatican cases and Forbidden's history. Anything you choose through my Amazon link helps support this channel and allows me to continue sharing stories most people never hear about. Take a look and decide for yourself. A soldier under possession began screaming battlefield secrets he was never briefed on. Coordinates, unit names, outcomes that were still classified. The church became involved when military officials realized the information was accurate. The soldier returned home from deployment changed, not withdrawn, not angry, just distant, as if he were listening to something no one else could hear. He had served in a support role, far from the front lines. No combat decorations, no access to classified operations beyond his assignment. According to records, he should not have known what he later revealed. The episodes began at night. Neighbors reported hearing him scream in his sleep, shouting grid coordinates and unit call signs. At first, they assumed it was combat trauma. Then military police were notified. During a medical evaluation, the soldier suddenly sat upright and began shouting details of a battlefield engagement that had occurred years before his enlistment. He described troop movements, casualty counts, The exact moment an ambush failed. Every detail was correct. The room went silent. When questioned, the soldier claimed he had never studied military history. He said the information came when the noise got louder. The episodes escalated. During one outburst, he screamed the names of soldiers killed in an operation that was still classified at the time. Their families had not yet been notified. Within hours, confirmation arrived. Military officials restricted access to the soldier and contacted religious authorities after psychological evaluations found no explanation. A priest was brought in quietly, not to perform an exorcism, but to observe. During prayer, the soldier began screaming again. This time, the voice shifted. It spoke rapidly, urgently, as if reliving multiple battles at once. It described artillery fire, air support failures, and friendly fire incidents that never appeared in official reports. When commanded to stop, the voice responded with a sentence that unsettled everyone present. "They never stop screaming where I stand." The priest asked who they were. The soldier answered without hesitation. The unburied. He claimed the battlefields were crowded with voices, overlapping and endless. He said something followed him home because he was quiet enough to hear them. No exorcism was approved. Instead, the sessions were halted after the soldier revealed the location of a mass casualty site that had never been recovered. Investigators confirmed the location days later. The soldier was placed under permanent medical supervision. The episodes gradually stopped. He never screamed again. But before his death years later, he said one final thing to a chaplain. He said the silence only came when he promised not to repeat what he heard. The church classified the case as possession by proximity, not invasion. The military classified it as impossible. Both sealed the records. If stories like this make you curious, you'll find links below to books, research material, and items people often explore after learning about possession cases and unexplained military encounters. Anything you choose through my Amazon link helps support this channel and allows me to continue sharing stories most people never hear about. Take a look and decide for yourself. A teenager suddenly began speaking in the exact voice of a priest who had been dead for years. Not impressions, not memories. The voice answered questions only the priest would have known. The teen was 16 years old and lived near a small parish outside the city. He had never served as an altar boy. He had never studied theology. He rarely attended church at all. The first incident happened during a school assembly. Without warning, the teen stood up and began speaking loudly in a calm, measured tone that did not belong to him. Teachers described the voice as older, deliberate, and unmistakably clerical. One staff member froze. She recognized the voice immediately. It belonged to a priest who had died 5 years earlier after suffering a stroke. The man had been well known in the community, especially for his sermons and confessions. The teen had never met him. When questioned, the teen appeared confused. He said he felt lightheaded and remembered nothing after standing up. Then it happened again, this time at home. Late one night, the teen sat upright in bed and began reciting prayers his parents did not recognize. His posture changed. His speech slowed. His voice dropped into the same tone witnesses had heard before. His father recorded part of it. When the audio was later played for former parish members, several began to cry. They recognized the priest's cadence, pronunciation, and breathing patterns. It was his voice. A local priest was contacted. During the visit, the teen greeted him by name and said, "You never finished asking me the last question." The visiting priest stepped back. The sentence referred to a private confession the deceased priest had heard years earlier, one never shared with anyone. The church authorized observation. During prayer, the teen's voice returned. It spoke gently, almost sadly. It addressed old parish matters. It mentioned unresolved disputes and forgiveness that had never been given. When asked who it was, the voice replied, eye was interrupted. The priest demanded clarification. The voice said death had not ended the duty, only removed the body. No exorcism was immediately approved. There was no aggression, no resistance, no blasphemy. What troubled the church was precision. The voice corrected theological errors. It remembered names. It recalled sermons word for word. It asked about parish members who had since died. When holy water was introduced, the teen did not react. But the voice stopped. Complete silence followed. The episodes ended shortly after. The teen returned to normal and remembered none of it. Years later, a final note was added to the file. The last recording was analyzed by audio experts. They concluded the voice patterns matched archived recordings of the dead priest with impossible accuracy. The church classified the case as unresolved vocal manifestation, not possession, not imitation, and not resurrection. If stories like this stay with you, you'll find links below to books, research materials, and items people often explore after learning about unexplained possession and church cases. Anything you choose through my Amazon link helps support this channel and allows me to continue sharing stories most people never hear about. Take a look and decide for yourself. A teenage girl was escorted through restricted Vatican vaults and began identifying hidden relics without seeing them. She named what they were. She described where they came from. And she pointed to objects no inventory listed. The girl was 15 years old and had grown up outside Italy. She had no religious education beyond basic schooling. She had never studied church history, Latin, or archaeology. Her interest in religion was minimal, and she had never visited Rome. Her involvement began after a routine school trip to a local museum. While walking through a religious exhibit, she stopped suddenly and pointed to a sealed display case. She told the guide the item inside was misidentified. She said it did not belong to the century listed, and that it had once been kept underground, wrapped in linen that smelled of oil. The guide laughed. Later that evening, museum staff quietly confirmed the object had been mislabeled. That should have been the end of it. Weeks later, during a visit to Rome with her family, the girl entered St. Peter's Basilica and became visibly uncomfortable. She said she felt pulled downward, as if something beneath the floor was calling her attention. A visiting priest noticed her distress and spoke with her. She asked him a question that startled him. She asked why the broken relic had been moved from the third vault to the second. There was no public third vault. The priest reported the encounter. Within days, Vatican officials requested a private meeting. Not an interrogation, but an assessment. The girl was brought into restricted areas under supervision. She was not shown anything. Vault doors remained closed. As she walked, she stopped repeatedly. She pointed to walls and floors and calmly described what was behind them. A fragment of bone wrapped in silk. A wooden object with iron nails. A reliquary that had been relocated decades earlier due to water damage. Each description matched internal records. Then she identified something that was not recorded. She stopped near a sealed corridor and said there was an object no one wanted cataloged. She described its size, material, and damage. She said it had been hidden because it caused disagreement. Archivists checked. The object existed. It had never been officially logged. When asked how she knew these things, the girl said she did not see them. She said they felt different from empty spaces. She described them as heavy, not in weight, but in presence. No exorcism was considered. No ritual was performed. What unsettled officials was her accuracy without contact, sight, or instruction. During her final walk through, she paused at one vault door and refused to continue. She said that one should never be opened again. Records show it has not been opened since. The girl was released and returned home. She never sought attention. She never spoke publicly. Years later, Vatican notes include a final line. Identification occurred without revelation. Knowledge presented itself. Without requested stories like this stay with you. You'll find links below to books, research materials, and items people often explore after learning about hidden relics and sealed church history. Anything you choose through my Amazon link helps support this channel and allows me to continue sharing stories most people never hear about. Take a look and decide for yourself. An exorcism was performed beneath St. Peter's Basilica in a chamber the public never sees. Not to expel a demon from a person, but to keep something beneath the basilica from waking up. The chamber lies far below St. Peter's Basilica, beneath layers of stone, tombs, and forgotten foundations. It is not a chapel. It is not a crypt. It was uncovered during routine structural work, meant to reinforce the basilica's lower levels. Engineers expected empty ground or ancient drainage channels. Instead, they found a sealed stone room. No doors, no inscriptions. Just a chamber encased in stone that did not match the surrounding architecture. When the seal was breached, workers reported a sudden pressure change, like stepping into deep water. Tools malfunctioned. Lights flickered. One worker collapsed without explanation. The Vatican halted construction immediately. Archivists were brought in. Old maps were consulted. None mentioned the chamber directly, but several warned of an area beneath the basilica that was not to be disturbed. What troubled officials most was not what they saw. It was what they heard. Inside the chamber was a sound described as low and rhythmic, like breathing through stone. Not constant, but responsive. It intensified when people entered and softened when they withdrew. No human presence was found inside. No remains. No relics, no artifacts, yet the chamber was not empty. A decision was made quietly. If the site could not be removed or sealed permanently, it would be addressed ritually. Not as an exorcism of a person, but as a containment rite. 3 priests were selected. No public records list their names. The ritual was conducted at night, long after the basilica had closed. No candles were used. Only prayer. As the rite began, witnesses reported the stone walls vibrating gently, as if resonating with the words. The sound inside the chamber grew louder, then suddenly stopped. Midway through the ritual, one priest paused. He later reported a sensation of being watched from below, not above or around, but beneath the floor itself. When the prayers reached their final invocation, something changed. The chamber's pressure normalized. The air grew still. The sound did not return. The priests did not declare success. They declared stability. The chamber was resealed using modern materials, layered over ancient stone. Construction resumed with the area reinforced and deliberately misaligned from all known access points. No further disturbances have been recorded, but Vatican notes include a warning. The ritual was not performed to cast something out. It was performed to remind something where it was meant to stay. If stories like this stay with you, you'll find links below to books, research materials, and items people often explore after learning about sealed Vatican history and hidden exorcism cases. Anything you choose through my Amazon link helps support this channel and allows me to continue sharing stories most people never hear about. Take a look and decide for yourself.